Welcome to the Orange County Riptide Podcast, the Rip Current. I'm your host, Justin Gans. Alongside me is Andrew Coonan, Andrew Rovis, Adam Coonan, and Ryan Logan. How are you guys doing today?
Doing all right, Justin. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So how do you think the Riptide have doing so far this season? Andrew, we'll start with you first.
Yeah, it's starting off a little slow. I mean, that's kind of how the season started last year, but the Riptide are starting to pick it up. It's great to see them turning a corner and beating some tough CCL teams like the Forsters, the Oaks, and hopefully soon the Saints, who they play next week.
Yeah, I think as Andrew mentioned, it was a tough start for the Riptide, starting 1-3 there, but 7-2 in the last 9. They've won 5 in a row. I mean, the Tide are really rolling right now, but I think it is kind of a product of them getting all their players in. I talked with Connor after the 1-3 start, and he said it was an unacceptable product on the field, but they just kind of had to get rested, get all their guys in, get their arms ready for the season. Some guys maybe coming off a long season in college. So I think they have all their guys now, and they're certainly ready to roll.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the game partly yesterday, and I saw they're up big and only let up about 3 runs, if I remember correctly. And then last night was an awesome win. So definitely looking to build on this momentum going into this upcoming week with it being Monday or off day. So I definitely think we've turned things around, but I would just look to sort of definitely hope for more consistency from our bullpen moving forward, because I feel like when the starters are going deep into the game, for instance, last night, Andrew Parker had an incredible outing, 5 innings pitched. I believe he had 4 hits allowed and 8 strikeouts.
Yeah, he was a beast.
The game went incredible, and hitters hit, and it all went well. So I think that's one thing we definitely need to focus or hope for, some more consistency.
Yeah, and I think the Riptide overall have been doing a good job. Like we've said, 5 win streaks in a row. Andrew Parker's been on fire on the mound, along with Tommy McGuire and Luis Becerra. Speaking of players, we'll start first with you, Ryan. Who do you think has been a key player for the Riptide this season so far as we head into our 3rd week of the year?
Yeah, so I'd say Ace Reese from the University of Houston. He was all Big 12 freshman team this past season. Coming into last night, he was tied for 3rd on the team with a .500 slugging percentage. And in case any of the listeners do not know what a slugging percentage is, it's calculated by dividing the total number of bases a player reaches it per at bat by the number of at bats. And with the most at bats on the team, he had a 400 batting average coming into last night, which was the highest on the entire team. And looking at it right now, it's only dropped to 391 from last night, but that's still the 3rd highest in the CCL. The next closest player coming into last night was Rocco Gump with 36 at bats, but a 333 batting average, which is still incredible and one of the best averages on our team. But this just goes to show how dominant Ace Reese has been at the plate and patient at the plate, or quite frankly, maybe pitchers are starting to realize that they sort of need to pitch around him or sort of pitch more out of the zone and make him fall for stuff, hopefully. But he hasn't really been falling for stuff recently. And against the Ventura County Pirates on June 13th, Ace had 2 RBI singles, and in that game, he also had 3 walks. And, that's just one clear example of Reese being patient at the plate and capitalizing on his approach. So there's not much you can ask for from a cleanup hitter, and it'll be interesting to see where, he ends up after this season of summer ball and transfer portal. So definitely look forward to seeing what comes about from that.
Andrew, you want to take the next one?
Yeah. One player I would say is Luke Johnson, former SM Eagle. Offensively, he's been doing okay. Right now, he's hitting .244, 13 RBIs, which is I believe, third or second. He's among the team leaders. You know, he's definitely getting there offensively. He's going to be a great hitter for the Riptide, but I think more importantly, he's a great defender playing at second base. We saw a lot of great plays yesterday, a few lineouts right to him. And, you know, if you have a strong second baseman, that can really be a good cog in Connor Spencer's team. And, you know, local guy too. I'm sure he feels good that he's semi-close to where he up and definitely has impacted his play in a positive way.
Adam?
So, guys, there has been one constant throughout this 5-game win streak, and it might be a bonfire. You know, there's allegations of the bonfire, team bonfire, causing this 5-game win streak. But I'm going to say it's Patrick Hackworth. He's a guy that is a returner from last year, come into this lineup and has been a machine, really, hitting 500 through the first 5 games. And, you know, if you've never seen Hackworth play, I'd compare his game to a Luis Arias, a guy that, you know, just gets on base, has a knack for getting on base. I don't think he has a single extra base hit on the season, but he just finds ways on base. I mean, I was talking to Matt Smith after one of the games, and I believe it was after his debut. He said that him and Connor Spencer called him Ted Williams. And if you're compared to a guy like Ted Williams, you know, you got to be pretty damn good. And he's a guy that last year played the outfield, and this year comes in, plays second, plays short. So positional flexibility there. And he really just opens up the lineup for all the guys behind him. You look at a guy like Ace Reese, really turned it on when Hackworth, you know, came into the lineup. Guys like Luke Johnson opened it up for him as well. So his ability to get the team off to good starts and get on base, cause havoc on the base paths, really just opened up everything for everyone else. So I think Hackworth has been kind of the constant throughout this win streak. And, I mean, when they have him in the lineup, they haven't lost yet. So good for the Riptide going forward, and he'll definitely be a key contributor to the team.
Yeah, and who I would like to point out, who's kind of been kind of stealthy in a way, he switched positions from designated hitter to third base on and off, is Rocco Gump. He had a game-winning walk-off home base hit that won us our first ever extra innings game of the season in the 10th inning against the Walnut Creek Crawdads. And through the first 12 games of the year, he has 6 runs and he has 12 RBIs and is batting a 350 on the season so far, despite striking out last night against Santa Barbara in the home series. But I think Rocco has had definitely a great season so far, along with players like Luke Johnson and Patrick Hackworth. And even on the pitching side, Andrew Parker has been, you know, dominant for the Riptide. He's been killer every single game that he's pitched so far. Again, Luis Becerra, Tommy McGuire, and Parker have picked up the big wins for the Riptide so far. And speaking of the Riptide, we will now cut to head coach Connor Spencer talking to us about the season so far from his perspective.
We're here with head coach Connor Spencer. Connor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. So far, it started off for a slow start for Riptide, and now we've been doing really well. 4-game win streak. How do you feel that the team has improved from the first couple games and now riding this 4-game win streak into this game against the Santa Barbara Foresters for Game 2 of the rematch tonight?
Yeah, I think we're playing cleaner baseball, right? Before. What? Sorry. Oh, you're fine. We're playing cleaner baseball. I feel like before we were making a lot of basic mistakes. You know, not playing catch, not portraying, you know, D1 baseball style. It's a lot of mental mistakes. Feel like we came out, we had some early work, did some stuff that we needed to work on. And on top of that, the bats have started to come around, which has taken an immense pressure off our pitching and off our defense. So you put the two together, I think we've played cleaner baseball. I think our offense has started to make adjustments. And when those things combine, all of a sudden we're starting to put some wins together. So I'm excited to see where it goes moving forward.
How do you folks in on how to fix those errors and playing clean baseball? Is there anything specific that you guys have done outside of batting practice and game prep and stuff along those lines, or team mentality and team meetings that you've said?
Yeah, realize with summer baseball, it's a pro baseball style, right? When these guys are at their respective schools, you have all this time during the week that you can have practice sessions and do individual defense, work on team defense. In a summer ball atmosphere, you don't really have that kind of time. The facilities are limited on the time when you have the facilities. Guys are busy. There's many guys that are at home. So you go pro baseball style, and the only real work and time that you have to do that work is in early work. And that may be 30 minutes before your batting practice starts. Maybe there's a day where we can get an hour in. But the fact of the matter is the guys show up, and we've worked on things, obviously the simple things like ground balls, fly balls, alignments and cuts and relays. But we've worked on things like our set times, our picking systems, a lot of things that are going to make the product on the field better for obviously the fans and make our team more competitive at the end of the day. And so far it's working.
Carlos, summer ball is certainly unique in the fact that guys have certain amount of innings they can go. You have guys coming in and out of the lineup. From a managerial perspective, what is that like to have to manage that process? And does it finally feel like you have your whole team here now a couple weeks in?
It's a great question. Summer ball is completely different than, spring baseball. Guys, it not only is there, there's a need for you to get guys innings, especially, the respective schools want you to get guys innings. So you're not obviously playing your A+ lineup every single night, but it's somewhat of a revolving doors just depending on the year, right? Sometimes there's years where all of a sudden guys get hurt or guys hit inning limits or guys, decide to up and leave. It's unpredictable, but you kind of roll with the punches as a manager, and you try and fill in the gaps where you can. But at the end of the day, all you're trying to do is you're trying to send these guys back to their respective schools a better baseball player with higher baseball IQs and more ready to play at the Division I level. And that's what we really focus on here. And I feel like if we do our jobs as coaches and try and get our guys better, then the wins will come. And obviously these guys are having fun, and with having fun, I feel like that creates a winning atmosphere as well.
Before we go into this next section of the podcast, though, I want to tell you about Wild Rivers. The OC Riptide players will be at Wild Rivers on June 27th and signing autographs and riding water slides with their fans. You can double down on your summer fun by coming to any of our home games until June 27th to buy your discounted passes. Normally, Wild Rivers any day passes go for $70, but here with the Riptide, you can get them for $45. And now we are back here at the Rip Current Podcast, the official podcast of your Orange County Riptide, which is sponsored by Wild Rivers. And if you can catch a game at the Great Park Championship Stadium, you can find a selection of pear tree meats, and also you can find Northwood Pizza, great pizza, along with pear tree meats being one of the best barbecues in town. Mike, who owns pear tree meats, is the main guy who will cut the meat right up there for you. So really good meat. If you're looking for some good barbecue, this past weekend, we had our annual pear tree meats night for Sunday night barbecue. And we'd also like to give a shout out to Chick-fil-A in the Woodbury Town Center, who has been providing us with spicy and regular chicken sandwiches along with nuggets at the stadium. Andrew, you mentioned Luke Johnson's production so far. How do you think he has really kind of fit into a role with this team being his first season with the Riptide?
As a freshman coming from Cornell, very tough Ivy League school there. And kind of the fact that he's placed into the second base role, I think he's a really smart baseball player too. He makes the right plays defensively. He gets on base. That's a big one if the Riptide want to win some games, especially against division leaders, And I don't know. I feel like his attitude is really good. Connor Spencer kind of plugs him wherever, and he's done his job. That's exactly what a young team like the Riptide need. They need executors, and Luke Johnson's one of those guys for sure.
Yeah, I think building off what Andrew said, we asked him about personal goals for this season, and he just kind of said he was happy to be here. He enjoys being part of the Riptide, and he really relishes being on the team. So why don't we actually cut to us talking to Luke Johnson about him being on the Riptide here in his first year.
So you come into this game with 2 home runs. How do you think your season has been going so far overall, and have you seen any improvements to your game?
Yeah, obviously, it's a lot of baseball, 5-6 games a week. At first, I feel like probably got off to a little bit of a slow start. It's kind of an adjustment going from metal bat to wood bat. I would stay, and it's just kind of having fun with the guys. It's summer ball, so I've been pretty happy with how they're playing recently.
I know you highlighted going from metal bats to wood bats, but mechanic-wise, has there been anything that you've been focusing on or any mental adjustment that you've had to make for that?
Yeah, the big thing for me is, I have a pretty narrow stance, and, I've had a pretty big stride forward, so keeping some weight and tension on my backside as I stride forward for my swing has been a big thing for me, and not kind of losing my hips and just kind of like lunging forward, especially with the wood bat. You're not going to get away with not having a strong lower half for sure.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Luke, I'm sure you're looking for team success, but personally, do you have any goals for this summer?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't have much goals coming in here. I was kind of happy. I was kind of get on this team because, this team's, well known, one of the best teams you get on California. So I was pretty happy. Just try to play as much as I can and, just have fun with the guys. That's, just have fun this summer. That's what I've been telling myself. Yeah.
So you get to Cornell into Ivy League. So how do you balance the academics at Cornell as well as baseball? You're on the road flying and stuff along those lines.
Yeah. The good thing about, the Ivy League, when Ivy League play starts, you're only playing games on the weekend. So it's a doubleheader Saturday, only a Sunday. And, usually leave Friday afternoon. So, I schedule my classes all in the morning, usually. So I'm done around like 1 or 2, so I can head to the field for practice after. But just, communication with the coach, like, hey coach, I got to leave. I got tests, I got homework, like very understandable, just doing things probably the day they're assigned is big too, and not letting it drag on, just being on top of your work. 100%. Yeah, for sure.
This point is key.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was Luke Johnson talking about his career here with the Riptide, and also talking about some personal goals coming from an Ivy League school. Ryan, you asked him a great question about that. Do you guys think coming from an Ivy League school, being kind of an academic style, and then coming into like you said, major league type of environment is good?
Yeah, I definitely think that says something about him as a player and an individual. I think the mentality that he brings to the team, especially being in an Ivy League, and how he described having double headers on Saturday and having that discipline. It's not easy at an Ivy, like, for instance, I go to Chapman University. It's not easy all the time to keep that discipline and do your assignments, study for an exam the day of you find out that you have an exam next week or anything like that. But he talked about doing it right then and there. And I think that brings something to the team mentality of him translating that into the team mentality. So I definitely think that just makes him stand out as an individual on this team and translating to the team mentality.
Yeah. And overall, the success of the Riptide, Adam, I'm start with you on this question. What do you think has been just the key to the Riptide success so far?
Well, I don't know if they've been stellar at playing clean baseball. I think if they played clean baseball going forward, they'd be pretty unbeatable. But I think a key going forward is going to be to play clean baseball. We talked to Connor about it, actually. He mentioned, that's a area that they have to shore up on, but just not walking guys, not giving out free passes, no errors, that's a spot where they can certainly improve on. And I think that if they can clean it up, especially, on the pitching side with walks, that's something they got to clean up, because as we get deeper into the season, it's going to start to hurt them more than it has so far. So an area where, I think they probably need to shore up is just playing clean baseball overall.
Yeah. And Andrew, what would be your thoughts on the success to having clean baseball being played?
Yeah, I think it's super important. The Riptide, they're going to be playing some good teams down the line, especially in July. You got your Foresters, you got your Saints, the Oaks, the Sunrays will throw them in there too. They've had their fair shares of wins against them. One key for the season, I think, for the Riptide too, going forward, they got to score runners in scoring position. I mean, we saw this a lot of games where Riptide, they lost some close games where they had double-digit runners in scoring position. Got to score them. And, at the end of the line, it's going to come down to the pitching. But this runners in scoring position problem seems to have been solved for now, but it's definitely important. You got to score them when they're right there in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say having our starters going deep in the game. It seems like when our starters go deep in the game, for the most part, we're having success. For instance, last night, Andrew Parker going 5 innings with 4 hits and 1 earned run and only 1 walk with 8 strikeouts. And the hitters came out to hit last night. But I've definitely seen some inconsistencies with the bullpen. But I would like to put emphasis on Andrew Parker, though, for sure. I mean, he started the most amount of games so far this season, and with 18 innings pitched so far, he's only allowed 14 hits, and I just did the math on that. That's only 77% hits each inning. So only 77% of the time opponents are getting hits on him each inning.
And for our next segment, sponsored by Ticket Smarter, we're going to go around the CCL and give everybody listening at home a standings update heading into week number 3. So starting off in the CCL South Division, the Arroyo Seco Saints are sitting in first place with a record of 7-3. Your Orange County Riptide are sitting second place with a record of 8-5. The Santa Barbara Foresters are sitting with a record in third place of 7-5. The Canadian Oaks sitting in fourth with 6-5. The MLB Academy Barons sitting in fifth place, who have a record of 6-8. The San Diego Sunrays, who are sitting in sixth place, with a record of 2-7. And in last place for your CCL South Division are the Ventura County Pirates with a record in 1-4. Now, going up the coast into the North Division, we see the Walnut Creek Crawdads sitting in first place. And guys, we've seen the Riptide play at Crawdads and have that epic comeback victory. So we'll see what we can do against them in the next future games. Coming in second is the Milno Park Legends with a record of 6-4. In third place, the San Luis Obispo Blues with a record of 6-5. In the fourth spot, we see the San Francisco Seagulls, who are a new team like the Sunrays, for their first year with a record of 6-6. In fifth, we see the Sonoma Stompers with a record of 5-6. And sitting in last place, in sixth place, is the Alameda Merchants with a record of 2-7. So, any closing thoughts, gentlemen? Ryan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, real quickly, I just want to correct what I said earlier in the podcast, bringing it up now. I brought it up last night, but it looks like the CCL website was updated this morning. Ace Reese is now fourth in the CCL. I believe I said third, so he's fourth with a 391 batting average. There's only 2 players ahead of him, Chart, Imhoff, and Jefferis from San Luis Obispo. I mean, I definitely think playing clean baseball going forward is definitely key, and attacking the strike zone early in the count. It seems like the team has a really good mentality through this 5-game winning streak, like any team would. They have with Omaha not working out too much, but we're really hoping for her next appearance to go better. But I definitely think that's brought some good mentality for the team, because now they have a stuffed pet dog in the dugout. So I think that just speaks volume of how the
And for-
camaraderie of this team has come about, and season's progressing in a good way recently.
And for those who do not know at home, Omaha is our GM Dave Lamb's golden retriever, who had a couple stints this year trying to retrieve the bats, but she didn't work out so well. So we're hoping to see her back out on the field for that. Adam, your closing thoughts?
So you mentioned the standings there, Justin. I think it's pretty impressive. We were, near the bottom of the standings. Now the Riptide sitting in second place, and what might have got lost in this 5-game winning streak of we're winning all these games is this weekend where we just swept the first place team in the CCL South, the Santa Barbara Foresters, a team that obviously the players don't view it as much as a rivalry, but a team that's kind of been a rival over the past couple of years. And I mean, the game before last night, pretty dominant win for the Riptide, and then a close one where they kind of let them up at the end. But I mean, these are games where the Riptide have pretty much dominated for the most part. So I think that it's a good sign for the Riptide moving forward that they're able to not only grab wins, but grab wins over quality teams, grab quality wins. Now that next step's going to be, being able to beat Arroyo Seco. I know they're a team that has given them trouble so far this year, not able to beat them yet, but right now they're looking pretty good in the standings and look like they have a chance to go to the playoffs this year.
Andrew?
Yeah, I think the team defense has been really strong. I mean, I feel like we don't give enough credit to some of these defenders. Patrick Hackworth, he played in the outfield last year, made a bunch of diving plays, and you put Jake Brown in right, and he's making similar, if not better, catches on a nightly basis. It's good to have a great outfield who can do a lot. The infield has been really strong too. I really like at the hot corner Rocco Gump playing really strong. And I feel like this mentality too, everybody's hungry. They want to win games, and they've got a big schedule coming up against some top teams like the Oaks and the Saints. And the Riptide desperately need to beat the Saints if they want to keep climbing. It'll be a good game though, and that'll be at home on our live stream. We hope you check that out later this week.
Yeah, and you can tune in to the live stream where Andrew, Dylan Luden, and
Jeff,
one of the other broadcasters, Jeff, will be doing our live stream from the Great Park at the Championship Stadium on the OC Riptide's YouTube page. We stream every game live from YouTube, and it wouldn't be possible without everyone's support showing for your Orange County Riptide. That just about does it for this week's podcast of the Rip Current, your official Orange County Riptide podcast. I'm your host, Justin Gant, and I was joined by Andrew Relvis, Adam McCoonan, and Ryan Logan. Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast. On our next podcast, we will talk more with head coach Connor Spencer and also have more player appearances and some more CCL updates. Thank you so much for tuning in.